Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Hart, and I wanted to once again welcome you to the course. And I wanted to give you a few special messages as heads up as we move into units 2 and 3. And it's very important that you get this information because it'll set the tone for the rest of the course. First of all, I want you to be reassured about the deadline for UO2A1, the topic selection paper. What you're going to find is that I'm pretty rigorous in my grading of these early assignments because performance analysis is really important. It's the basis for really setting the stage for a successful intervention later on. So I am, as I said, pretty rigorous about these early assignments because they do focus on performance analysis. So please do not be concerned about the deadline. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to reset the deadline right now for UO2A1 to sometime in the next week. So I have a couple more comments that are going to make more sense now that I've told you about extending the deadline for the first assignment. The second thing that I want to talk about is the root cause analysis that you're offering in this assignment. This course is the only course in our core set of courses in training and performance improvement where the main performance intervention has to be a training intervention. Now, you'll know if you've taken other courses in our core courses, you know that we really emphasize looking at a number of different kinds of interventions. That training isn't just the only answer. You know, we pound that home in almost all of our courses. So we try to encourage you to look at compensation interventions. We try to look at system improvements and process improvements as interventions. We look at restructuring work and restructuring organizations and so on. However, in this course, the primary focus of the most important intervention is training. So unfortunately, what I see in a number of versions of this course, 76, 72, is that people will carry forward their projects from previous training and performance improvement courses where they haven't perhaps offered any training intervention, and then they bring this project forward into ED 76, 72 where the intervention has to be a training intervention. And unfortunately, I find a number of people who they might do a great job describing root causes that aren't training related, but then when they come into this course, they're lost because they haven't identified a problem that's training related. And this is something that I notice quite a bit in this course, not just this section, but in all sections of this course. So people will, for instance, they'll describe a performance problem where it might be maybe policies and procedures are unclear, okay? So they say, I'm going to develop an intervention for this. Well, unclear policies and procedures is not a training intervention. If the root cause is poorly written policies and procedures, then there has to be a rewrite of the policies and procedures. And maybe that's all that needs to happen. Maybe no training is needed. All you have to do is rewrite the policies and procedures, make them more clear. People will follow them, and that's it. So that's just an example, okay? So I want you to be looking very carefully at the root cause analysis that you're offering for these projects. Finally, and on a related note, is the measurable gaps, the performance gaps. These gaps have to be stated in measured terms. So a performance gap that says people don't like the work atmosphere is not acceptable. Okay? Now, you can state that in measured terms by saying, on a employee engagement survey, the average rating was 3.5 out of a possible 5, indicating that there's quite a bit of disengagement on the part of employees. So you've got a gap of 1.5 between a perfect score of 5 and what they're getting right now, 3.5. That's a better way of stating that problem, okay? But stating, people just don't like where they're working, or there are lots of conflicts with the boss, or the team is not working well together. Those kinds of statements of the performance gap are not acceptable, okay? So you have to state them in measured terms. Now, why is that? I'm not saying the things that you're looking at aren't problems, but what I'm saying is you have to start looking at these definitions of the problems through the eyes of management. Management is all about numbers. They're all about numbers. They're about profit. They're about loss. They're about expenses. They're about salaries. They're about sales goals. They're about productivity goals. They're about all of these things. And everything boils down to numbers. Okay? So you have to tie in to that way of thinking. And you have to show management that you can think that way too. It's one of the problems with our profession. We have a lot of people who complain that, well, we're training and performance improvement people, and we never get a chair at the table. We never get a chance to really, be part of the business decision-making process. Well, if you define performance problems as, well, people just don't get along with their boss, that's why you don't get a seat at the table. Management says, yeah, so what? And most importantly, what's the link between people not getting along with their boss and their performance? There's not necessarily a direct link. There are millions of people in the United States who don't get along with their bosses, and they still perform at an acceptable level. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why I'm a stickler about stating these performance gaps in measured terms. Okay? It's to help you get that seat at the table that you want. So those are my thoughts. And once again, now I understand this. I may be more rigorous about some of this than some of the other instructors, and that's why I give you more time to work on this. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to post them in the Ask Your Instructor area, and I will look forward to seeing your work. Bye now.